Okay, every now and then I like to do, remakes. I'm a fan of the classic. The original April Fool's Day was essentially, it took place on, an island mansion, and the idea behind it was essentially you had a rich woman who wanted to essentially kind of turn her mansion into kind of like a resort for kind of like a stage horror event. They took a similar concept to that now. Essentially, the first one is, if you were to watch it as a traditional slasher, you'll be kind of upset at the end when you realize that it's all been a giant practical joke, for the most part, hence April Fool's Day. It's also kind of been blamed for the demise of the slasher film for the better part of the decade. So I found they did a remake, and I was like, okay, I'll give this one a shot. I actually liked the original. I thought it was a unique concept. It was bizarre doing kind of like a funny, tongue-in-cheek sort of slasher flick. And then if you're being upset because it's not really a slasher flick. I went into this one with kind of a mixed emotion. Either A, it's going to be a slasher flick, or B, it's going to be a slasher flick with like the giant joke ending to it. This one you have a debutante ball, where the woman who is coming out is also the, she's Michael Myers' sister in the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween. I thought it was kind of interesting. Oh, that's neat. So they begin with it being on April Fool's Day, and they try to do this joke. It's essentially debutante ball, think pretty white kids with problems. And one of them's kind of like, with all your guys' money, you really should be doing stuff. I haven't been out partying with you guys, because all the work we're doing with my mentally handicapped people and all my charity events. I just don't have time to go out and party like everyone else. So essentially the debutante ball is a giant ruse to try to essentially get her essentially deep having sex. Things go wrong, and of course she dies. It's a legitimate death in this movie. Like an actual death. Alright. It affects, the trust funds of two characters. Because the male lead currently has control of the trust fund. The female lead can't do anything without her older brother's permission. After this happens, she gets control of the trust. Slowly over time, they begin to all get letters, more or less saying, meet here, I have proof of what you did. You're probably thinking now it goes into a poor version of I know what you did last summer. Yes. Yes. Pretty much everyone seems to die a lame way off camera. A gay guy who doesn't know how to swim jumps into his pool to save his dog and drowns. The beauty queen gets a vase full of flowers, the bottom falls out, water goes everywhere, and of course the curling iron she is using has frayed cords and she's electrocuted. When they find out who's doing it, he gets his throat cut. This is the only time you actually see blood in this movie, up to this point. So you're like an hour into the movie, at first you see him actually get cut, there's actually blood somewhere. The politician friend gets run down by the van with his pictures on it. Pretty much you don't see any deaths happen on camera, except when the guy gets his throat slit. Female lead thinks, oh my god, it's Milan, the one that they killed earlier. Now, of course, keeping with the general tradition of the original one, you kind of find out at the very end of it, it's the same style. The Michael Myers' sister woman who's in this movie, she's an actress. So at the very end when they do the reveal, well, one of the two reveals, everyone except for Milan is actually dead. They went through a long, elaborate process to get a confession from her, so that way they can use that confession to have her go to jail and to clear all of her other, celebutante names. The guy running for political office, now someone goes, well, I had nothing to do with it. She entirely confessed to doing the murder. She gave her the roofie. It's her fault. She knew about the combination of drugs that are going to give her, seizures. She did it. It's not my fault. Her brother gets to get control of the trust fund again. And everyone else is kind of like, for the actress, she was like, you ruined my coming out party. Now, there is, of course, a twist ending beyond that. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Oh, why not? But this movie sucked anyways. Here's a twist ending. The other twist ending. The actress is like, no. You see, when I shot him, it was a squib. These are full of blanks. She puts the gun in and pulls the trigger. There's a loaded round in the chamber. Blows the female lead's head off. Like the whole backside goes off. They then go to trial again. You know, the male lead who had lost control of the trust fund when Milan died, now gets to have his trust fund reinstated, and he gets to become, of course, the prime beneficiary again. And then he drives off with his sister's Porsche with a small smirk on his face. This movie, for the most part, was, and actually the synopsis has been grisly murders. Drowning is not grisly. Being hit by a van off camera, not grisly. Being electrified off camera, not grisly. Throat cut. Only one person gets their throat cut. You see another scene where someone's getting stabbed in the chest repeatedly, and ironically, they're filming a movie while you're watching the movie. So it's pretty white kids with problems. The first one is a decent enough classic because it's got some grisliness to it, some gruesomeness to it. You thought this one would have taken it a step farther. Instead, it's this kind of like combination of like Mean Girls, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and April Fool's Day. And it is, in any way, shape, or form, it is vastly inferior to each of those three movies. So, if you have a chance to see April Fool's Day, 2008 remake, don't. Just don't. 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 Don't answer the phone. Don't pick up the door. Don't open the Netflix DVD. Don't get this in your queue. Don't rent this. Don't DVR this if it's on sci-fi or Fury.net. Just don't. Don't even waste the bandwidth to download this movie. This is one of those, I'm going to contemporize an older movie, which by its own right is a classic. I want to make it suck. That is April Fool's Day.